Hello, Math24 students. I do read all of your discussion posts, and recently I asked you to give me feedback about what you would like to start, stop, or continue with the course. And you gave me lots of helpful feedback, so I wanted to let you know what I heard. So I have to do discussion boards. That's why you're seeing them in every one of your classes. It's a requirement put on us. So I do try and at least make them relevant and engaging and brief. So just put up with them. We have to do them. And then I did want to point out that if you go to the discussions button on your homepage, you can go directly to the discussions. And if you do, there is a place called Student Hangout. And this is a place where you could post questions for your classmates and answer each other's questions. So I hope you'll take advantage of that. Some people were using it at the beginning, but then it kind of languished. So that's available for you. And if you have your notifications turned on, you'll get notified if somebody posts something in that discussion. So I did want to also talk about some other things. So let me switch to just my webcam. So based on several of your comments, I will try and find an alternative to the textbook homework, because I heard that you're finding that the least useful part of the learning process, and it eats up a significant amount of time. So I hear that. There hasn't been a good open free resource for this particular class, but I'll look again and see if I can maybe find several different open sources that each have part of what I need and put them together. So I've spent some time looking and just haven't found anything that has all the curriculum in it in the way that the textbook that you're using does. So I'll work some more on that. For this semester, we're kind of stuck with the textbook since you already bought it or renting it. So this is the sequence I had in mind when I designed the course. I would watch the lecture videos and fill in the course pack notes so that I would learn what it is we're trying to learn. Then I would do the homework for practice and to reinforce the concepts. Then I would do the quick quizzes because they're meant to be just a quick check for me on the most important homework topics so that I can see how you're doing and give you feedback on your presentation. Then the Shine quiz is a more in-depth check of the most important topics. And I do want to make sure you're aware that the websites that are out there that I asked you not to use do have a way for me to remove content and also to get the names and IP addresses of students who have accessed the content that I asked them not to. I did make the homework worth a small percentage, so that if you decide not to do it at all, or only do as many as you feel you need, really not going to have a very big impact on your grade. I'm pretty much giving people 3, 4, or 5 if you do it, 3 if it's not complete, 4 if it's completed but there's a lot of errors, and 5 if it's well done. It is really hard to make business problems that make sense and are easy enough for you to manage and need calculus, because honestly, you will probably never use calculus in your work. You can ask my husband, who's been working in the business world for a long time. So Sac State requires you to take this course. I don't. I'm guided by the curriculum. I don't get to decide that either. I'm obligated to teach you the topics in the curriculum the best I can. So know that this course has other objectives besides learning the math itself, and see if you can focus on those skills that you're developing. So there's an eternal conflict with this class. Students want easy, manageable problems that they can access, and they want them to be relevant real-life problems. Well, guess what? Those don't go together. If it's a relevant real-life problem, it probably has funky little decimal numbers and really strange-looking functions that govern it because it's a real-life thing. and real life doesn't usually fall into nice, pretty polynomial patterns. So try and be patient with the fact that it's really hard to try and make it relevant and manageable and accessible. And I'm doing the very best I can. If you have suggestions for how to do that better, I'm happy to hear that. I also want you to know that as I grade, I keep in mind the accounting concept of materiality. So in accounting, for instance, if you're working for a company that's making millions of dollars, you don't spend an hour looking for a 20-cent difference. You let it go and you say, in the context of how big this business is, that's immaterial. So I'm always deciding whether the comment and feedback I'm making is material or if it's really immaterial. So please trust that I am giving you as few comments as possible and really only commenting on the major issues I see. And I also want to address that more than one person said, I wish the modules would get published earlier. Well, the problem with that is I don't have the whole course lined out for the full 16 weeks. I need it to be flexible and dynamic. And so I have a framework, but I'm creating the module fresh each week. And so to try and get ahead of the cycle is just really hard. But I will do everything I can to try to get the modules published on Friday, or today it's Saturday morning. That was the soonest I could get it done. So know that I am pretty much grading every minute of the workday, that I'm not doing Zoom meetings, and I'm getting things turned around as quickly as I possibly can. And I'm hoping you're starting to see that that's the idea. That the grading is more like a conversation. You give me your best effort, I give you feedback, you try again, I give you a little more feedback, you try again, and just try to be patient with that process. It's a process, it's a learning process, and I'm trying to be your guide. And then I also want to say that I heard the comments about the course pack notes, and I will adjust my grading of the filled in course pack notes. If they're completely filled in with many or large errors, I'll give you 10 points. If they're completely filled in, if they aren't completely filled in, 0 points. But if they're completely filled in with few or small errors, I'll give you the 20 points and just make the comments. Here's my concern. When I required you to make the changes in order to get the 20 points, I was seeing people make the changes. My concern is if I gave you the 20 points and make comments, you will either ignore them or you won't go to the trouble of actually incorporating them into your notes so that your notes are a useful tool. So please let me know if you have more feedback. There was an anonymous survey and I didn't get a lot of feedback from that. I'd be happy to do another one. If you have something you would like to say anonymously, please just ask me to launch another anonymous survey and let me know the kinds of things you would like me to ask, and I'll be happy to do that. I really do want to try and make the class work for you. I understand that it's a lot of work. It's a 3-unit course, and so if you look at the curriculum document, it says that 2 hours outside of class is expected for every hour in class. And so for this class, that would be a minimum of 9 hours, because you would spend normally 3 hours a week in the classroom and 6 hours doing homework. So 9 hours a week. Well, that's the average amount of time for the average student to get an average grade. I personally am slower, so I would need to allot more time because I know I'm slower. And I don't want an average grade. I want a better than average grade. So I'm going to allot more time. So it really is very much different for different students of how heavy the workload seems. So know that I have pared down from when I started teaching this course, and taking out the tests is kind of the last modification I've made in an effort to bring down the stress and anxiety level for the course. So one more comment I'd like to make. More than one person also said, I wish everything was just due on Sunday. Well, I'll tell you, I've tried that, and it was a major train wreck, because here's how most students operate. Oh, things are due on Sunday? I'll start working on them on Sunday. There is practically no possible way you could spend 9 hours on Sunday getting all your math work for the entire week done. So here's the thing. All of the due dates are flexible, right? So you could take the whole module and pretend it's due Sunday and spread out the work however it works best for you. The only thing that really has deadlines is the discussion board, and that's because you're interacting with your peers. And if you don't get that done within the 1 week time frame, then your comments are not going to be read or considered by your classmates. So the discussion board's purpose really is for you to interact with each other and for me to have evidence of that. So please don't stress about the discussion board. Just participate and contribute and think of it as an exercise that we just have to do. It's a hoop we have to jump through, and try and make it as meaningful for yourself as you can. If you have other ideas about discussion boards, I'm really open to that also, if you think there's something that would be really helpful to hear from your classmates. So I really want to make this course work for you. So please let me know if there are modifications that would make it work better for you. And if I can, I'll do that. Have a great week.